This is your week of December 8th and the following 7 days. First week of December, interesting energy. If you didn't see last week's video, I would advise you to go watch it. The week of December 1st and the following 7 days. This is the week after that, right? And I'm wording it that way because this is last week was a big week. We had this very strong grand water trine in the chart that is now pulling apart. It's easing off a little bit, a little bit. And it is a grand water trine that for some of you may still be strongly in place because some of the degrees, if you have the objects in your own chart, you're still going to be getting some possibly very beneficial energy. Possibly. Jupiter. Jupiter was at 24. Jupiter was at 25. It is now at 23. We're going to talk about that. And then we have down here Saturn, long-term goals, something that we can set up and it will be there for a long period of time. That is Saturn energy in general. Work, my goals, my plans for the future. What is my long-term commitment? Saturn energy, very serious type of energy. So it's in Pisces. That's typically government energy. This is institutional energy. We've seen really, really amazing and astounding and not so great examples of the Pisces energy with Neptune and Saturn there and the demolishing of institutions, physical institutions, whether it's jobs or physical structures, departments within government, and in healthcare for sure. Healing institutions is Pisces energy. Now, also prisons, by the way. Let's not forget that. So big water trine. So you're looking like 22, 23, 24, 25 degrees because of this big trine that is still here. It's still here at the beginning of this week. But again, Mercury is pulling away, and that's where we're going to kind of start off our story for this chart for this week is the Mercury energy. So it's going to be at that 26. And remember, Mercury's a fast mover, folks. Okay, so it doesn't stay here long. So by the 10th, Mercury's already at a critical degrees in Scorpio. Remember, billionaire degree. Just keep that in mind when you think of all the stuff that Scorpio energy represents. You know, not to forget, of course, those wounds and the trauma and the tragic stuff. Because Scorpio is the healer when it comes to all the signs of the zodiac. But Pisces energy can also be part of the forgiveness and the releasing of energy. You see, so that's why this big trine here is a big deal. So as Mercury pulls away, literally by the 11th, Mercury's already in Saggy. What this tells us then is from the 8th to the 10th, Mercury at a critical degree of Scorpio. Expect some big things. Expect things in the news, social media, and people of power, people of money, people of wealth. 29 degrees. From the 8th to the 10th, you've got Mercury and Uranus in a strong opposition with each other. Now, Uranus energy is going to be tech. It's going to be AI. It can also be space. It is astrology. It's science, right? And it's all that stuff that's different, that's exciting, that's new, that's fast, that's cutting edge. People get nervous with Aquarius energy. Uranus rules Aquarius. People get kind of frantic with it, right? It is the rebellions. It is, I'm going against the grain. That's Uranus energy. It is group energy. It's friends, but it's like a lightning bolt, right? And it can be like that divine information, divine energy that comes through. And sometimes, electronic God, right? With people walking around with their devices, the electronic God and the whole AI stuff, right? The information that AI and the things it can do. Well, Mercury at that opposition with Uranian energy, just in your own life, income, money, but what about banking and that, right? Because it's Uranus in Taurus. What about farming and agriculture? Right? And shocks and surprise and authority figures, because that's Uranian energy, the one who's in charge, right? This 28 degrees is a moon degree, by the way. That's important because that's homes, that's family, that's mom, that's nurturing. And Uranus tends to upset, tends to create, likes to shake shit up. Literally, it's like a giant hand picking objects up and just shaking them and seeing what falls off and then seeing what's still clinging. Uranus's job is literally to shatter the crystallized energy. Wherever we've been stagnant, that's Uranus's job. It's to say, oh, we're gonna we're gonna throw a monkey wrench into this, and there's gonna be surprises. There's gonna be, all of a sudden this shit's not working. Disruptions, huge Uranus energy. So we think homes possibly, but families for sure, and our emotions with possibly our food and the supply chain, and the farming, right? The farmers have just been going through a whole lot of pain and difficulties, and that's about as far as I'm gonna go into that because it's just upsetting. Mercury will then, with the shocks and the surprise and the information and trade and global trade too, it then will go into Saggy. You see that? We got Saggy on the 11th. Mercury at 0 degrees in Saggy on the 11th, which means it is communicating with Pluto. Power, intense power. So it's Mercury, which is about business, all about the stock market. It is trade, business and commerce, the information, the details, the data. And we know that's been missing. Without going into too much detail, there's been some, people have been fired. People have been let go because they didn't like the computer. They didn't like the information that was being shown, right? They didn't like the data, so they got rid of the person who was giving the data, type of thing. They were getting rid of the messenger. So, because this is like a power thing here, it's Mercury with a sextile to Pluto, and Pluto can bring us some shocking news, some surprising news, because it's Pluto and Aquarius energy, group energy. And this is, of course, the whole oligarch and the authoritarians and yeah, there's just a lot of power, intense power and abuses of power here with this kind of energy. So there's a strong connection and communication that lasts for about 2 days. You've got the 11th and the 12th. So that takes me over to here. We've got Mars on the chart, and from December 12th to December 14th, December 12th to December 14th. This is important, right? We have Mars at a critical degree. Mars at a critical degree in Sagittarius. Yes, in Saggy. Now, the big deal about that is literally even the day before, right? On the 11th, it's Mars conjunct the galactic center at 27. And this is rulings and judgments, and then Mars being there, some military information. So whether it's weapons or whether it's literally troops on the ground and something that the Supreme Court may have to say, whether it's federal judges within the states, that thing. But usually the Galactic Center is more about the Supreme Court because it's very powerful. Mars energy, critical degree, we'll say from December 11th to the 14th even, because of that Galactic Center spot. That's at 27, and then the triggering is the 28 and 29 for the all-powerful, for the all-great and powerful. Now, Saggy is about beliefs and the truth. It's about philosophy on life, but my belief about truth and what is truth and what is your truth. Is that my truth? And basically that's called relative truth, right? Because sure, it's true for you from your position. It's true for me from my position. However, what about universal truth? Jupiter starts off, you see, at 2357. It just got here. This is the Uranus degree, shocks and surprises. Okay, doing something that's unconventional, upsetting something, disrupting something. That is that degree. So judges, right? This can be foreign land, foreign languages, foreign countries, diplomats, diplomacy in terms of maybe not necessarily fair, but talking with foreign diplomats, talking with heads of state type of energy, public figures. Public figures can be Hollywood energy as well. Whether it's influencers and people who are just famous, people who are infamous, but people like Congress members as well, right? They kind of fit into that category when you say infamous for sure. um, so this 23 degrees upsets, right? It says we're here to just surprise the public because it's in Cancer. So this is that moon energy, Cancer energy. This is the emotions of the public. This is the people. Jupiter is usually quite benevolent. And normally we see the bigger picture. Normally we get a glimpse of the future. Normally we can feel hopeful with Jupiter, especially Jupiter in a retrograde. And there might be some things here that take us by surprise. This is for this whole week. This is the backstory behind all this other stuff that's happening. Okay. So even though in the chart there may not be a whole lot of things, a whole lot of lines that I have drawn in making direct connections, the behind the scenes story, Jupiter, shocks and surprises within the justice and the judicial system, even. The Sun and Juno partnerships, 24, 25 degrees. Okay. Again, the 24 is government and institutional energy, and the 25 by Monday is we're taking action. Action is being taken. So with this week's chart, we're holding tight because we always got to remain flexible. And that Uranus energy comes up again. And this is what we're going to be talking about next week with this with Pandora, with this Fortuna, where the tides of one's fortune rise and fall. Fortuna starts this week at 24 and pretty much just goes to 25 by the end of the week. She's a slow mover, but that means that she's starting to connect strongly with Uranus energy. These are both earth signs, so it's an earth trine, and a surprise will be coming. So look in your chart, earth energy, 25, 26, 27, 28 degrees of earth. And that would be for Virgo, for Capricorn, and for Taurus. There may be a swing in fortune. Fortuna typically means the fortunes may swing low. Like all of a sudden, I might have lost some money if I was gambling, especially, I don't know, corporations and the stock market. That could be it too, because of the Capricorn energy. But overall, a promise of a surprise.